But it's not just about having threesomes and not just about, oh, you might as well be single. Because no, that's the thing. They don't want to be single. If you're in a couple and you decide to be non-monogamous because, no, I love you, I want you, it's just something in my brain that's different from your brain has the ability to like or love or cater to have other friendships. And
one goal, one thing, one rule, man, that shit don't change. And it's real niggas do real fucking thing.
So I was listening to a podcast recently, right? And they were talking about non-monogamy and polyamory, but they were like kind of unnerving me because I could tell that they didn't feel too educated on the topic. They were saying things like, well, if you're going to do that, you might as well be single. The things that were being said were so many, such misconstrued ideas of what non-monogamy and polyamory can be, that I'm sitting there like, y'all, like, come on, y'all.
I've been with one for about 5 years, the other one for almost 2.5 years now.
Oh yeah, what's mom think?
They're very comfortable because I'm very open. I don't make it where it's, oh, look what I'm doing.
So when
I'm
you
not
gonna
a
get
player.
married? When you gonna marry?
This is what I was thinking. They could get married, and then I'll be with them.
Okay.
I like how it works out that way.
What's some of the biggest misconceptions you've been running into because you recently entered that world?
Well, the first thing is that people think that, we're cheating on each other, and it's not, because, that's the ethical part of it. You're literally letting folks know before you start doing whatever with them, and after, you just keep them updated on, like, who you're with, what y'all are doing, especially if it involves, like, unprotected sex. Like, it's so...
The term is ethical.
It's the ethical part of it, but the thing is, if they were just talking about non-monogamy and polyamory without adding that ethical in there, then I could see why, because, non-monogamy does include cheating, but that's, like, the lowest of the totem pole.
But that's monogamy.
Well, no, it's not monogamy.
No, I'm saying a lot of monogamous relationships have the lowest form of the totem pole,
so
have people cheating.
The lowest of the totem pole for monogamy and non-monogamy is cheating.
There's people cheating,
yes.
First and foremost, you can't be judging lifestyles from the lens of your personal one,
right?
Unless you also have experience within that lifestyle from an earnest position. When I say an earnest position, I don't mean that the only experience you have is negative. Because if the one time you tried it, you got burnt, of course, all you're going to have is that. But I mean, like, no, you actually gave whatever. And I'm not just talking about now. I mean, just anything. I'm not about to talk about some shit I don't know nothing about. Yeah. You feel me? So it's like when the Will and Jada shit came up, there was so many people saying they cheat. And I'm like, yo, you're looking at it from a monogamous standpoint. They're not in a monogamous relationship. So their rules are different. Right. Their perspective is different. Their expectations are different.
Right. Like, cheating is different.
You know what I mean? Right. What they would call cheating, because there is a thing called cheating, but their definition of cheating is different. And you can't come with your definition and your hang-ups and your frameworks and what makes you comfortable and come trying to cast anything on something that you're not a part of.
And what we realized is that we were two completely separate people on two completely separate individual journeys. And that we were choosing to walk our separate journeys together. But her happiness was her responsibility, and my happiness was my responsibility. And we decided that we were going to find our individual, internal, private, separate joy. And then we were going to present ourselves to the relationship and to each other already happy.
Let me just say this. That's that Catholic Western religious society coming down with that motherfucking, like, we should all be condemned to this and that and the third.
Dogma. You, like, really have to remember that, amidst this conversation that we're finally having these past, I'll say, like, maybe 5 or 6 years.
Let's give them 10.
Yeah, 10. Like for the past decade, like, we're, like, finally talking about, actually having the option to have different kind of fucking relationships. A lot of people.
Aside from
aside from basically
the basic. I don't call it the basic, but the
monogamy, really. Like, that's kind of like people's default baseline kind of thought process. Like, they jump off of that. They kind of veer off into different sections, but I think in the general scheme, people kind of jump off of monogamy first. And it's like people are still kind of getting used to the fact that people can have these different kind of options, and anything that goes against what they were brought up to believe is right, you know what I'm saying?
Must be wrong.
It's like, because people like attribute morality to relationships in a way that they don't necessarily have to.
So giving people a choice looks like setting up those boundaries and expectations so that you come in with your eyes open. You know the rules of the game, you know how to play. And with that, I once again rubbed up against how society was telling me I should be monogamous. I should be with one boy. It should be for my lifetime. I was looking for marriage. And I would go home, and it didn't look that way. And it was great, because my parents engaged me in conversation every day at the dinner table, in the things that we believed in, why we believed in it, and that it's okay to be different.
And morality is subjective to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, there's certain bottom line things that we all feel like, okay, that's wrong, that's immoral.
Right.
But then there's other things that, okay, but what makes you comfortable might be different from what makes me comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many
and that's
levels.
why you gotta talk to your partner.
I mean,
You know
I
what
mean,
I'm
just
saying?
talk that too, but I'm just saying the generally talking about this topic before you even get specific to your partner. You got to understand, like, look, I'm already conditioned, and there's layers to this topic that's not just as simple as she got a girlfriend, she got a boyfriend, I got a girlfriend.
You gotta be ready for what you're ready for.
What made you decide to hop in, like, to alter yours?
Well,
You was with your boyfriend how
honestly,
long?
now we've been together over 7.5 years. But at the point of us like deciding to open, I think we were around the 3-year mark, maybe almost 4 years. And I just remember thinking like it would be fun to I think at first we were going to try to just go in there together and like do like, you know, more of a threesome situation just so that we weren't ever doing it alone. But we just kind of talked about it for years. Like we literally just kind of talked about like what we fantasize, and like we started like kind of opening up and like, oh, I think he's cute, or he would like, oh, she's cute, or he'll like send me pictures of people that he thinks is attractive and like just other stuff. And like it never really bothered me after a bit, and I was just like, that's so cute, you know, like you know, he's like opening up to me in that way. But I think it also takes you being confident in yourself in order for you to even accept that someone that you care about, that you love, can be attracted to somebody else, but also still be attracted to you. So
It's the security aspect.
yeah,
I feel security.
Stupid security.
For people to have any kind of ethical non-monogamous relationship and have it work the correct way, you have to have such an amount of trust and communication.
Yep.
Like the people that decide to get into this world, they're communicating at times more than monogamous people are.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
They
saying.
have to fucking.
Their trust is way deeper.
I got cheated on. That's what it is. I was like that too, and I seen a dude. I was like, oh, okay. It made sense. He was tall. He played football. He was an engineer. I was like, oh, you cheated on me with the man I want to be in life. Like, why would you? Don't cheat on me with the man of my dreams, bitch. Why would you do? You trying to hurt me?
I've noticed that folks that are in these types of relationships have a much more open, deep connection to each other, and they're able to. It's just less bullshit. Like I feel like there's less. I don't think there's more. I mean, yes, there's more people that are involved, but like I feel like there were so many more like anxieties and just like jealousies that I had when I was monogamous than where I am now.
And again, it's about what works for y'all.
Yeah.
Because some people that's monogamous, you talk about this topic and they start defending monogamy and they start acting as if you're saying fuck monogamy. Yeah. It's like no one is saying
identity, like they identify with that type of shit.
Yeah, you caught that hit their identity, then you fucking like, who are you?
We were never taught that there are any alternatives.
Right.
We're all taught from the bottom and you're like what you were saying, that you're wrong, immoral, evil if you think outside of this set box and square. Right. And the fact of like a lot of these people just like, I'm just trying to live my fucking life and this is what's comfortable to me. I truly feel like a lot of people aren't emotionally or even mentally able to communicate this properly, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are in monogamous relationships that wish they could explore, but they're afraid.
They're afraid of judgment.
They're afraid of judgment. They're afraid to bring it up, and they might be with a partner that's so heads on against it that now you're just in an incompatible space, and you don't even realize it.
I think that a couple needs to make sure that they have done individual work on their self-love and like themselves before they jump into something like that. Like that's why me and my boyfriend had to wait because he had cheated, and then that like the cheating was from him not working on his like self-love. Like he didn't love himself. I'm like, why do you, like if you don't love yourself now, think about like all these other folks that you trying to be with. in that way, like, you're never gonna find that through other folks. You have to start with yourself. You can't even try it. You can't even do it through me. So like, that's when we both like, well, I was already getting therapy at that point, and I had just like enjoyed what I had discovered about myself through therapy. So I just kept raving about it to him, and so he finally got into therapy, and that's when he just became more aware of his, like, you know, things that he realized that were just things that he needed to work on that he was never able to do before.
That's for any relationship, be monogamous, non-monogamous, any relationship. You should have a handle on yourself, your own securities, your own everything, because a lot of damaged people get with other damaged people and then have a whole bunch of toxicity going on and don't even realize why they keep spinning their wheels. And there's a lot of love that can happen within that toxicity, but there's also
damaged.
There's a lot of damage going, and then you're inflicting more damage. 80-90% of the time, if someone comes at you about how you damaged them, you're going to most likely be defensive because you didn't mean to do it. And most times, if you didn't mean to do something, you will get defensive because you know your intention. But what we talk about is intention versus impact.
Yeah. Like when that honesty is there, like when everything is up fucking front, like it's very easy to not be resentful or, you know, suspicious. Like all the fucking time, like that, like makes everything, you know, really easy. You know, because. We all know what time of day it is.
Because even looking at it, I was about to say, the first thing I was about to say was piggybacking off of what Jay Mick said of, when you're about to get defensive, maybe you could think about, what if they are right? How could they be right? You know what I mean? Sometimes that has helped me grow in a different ways. Even if I feel like I'm up wrong, but how could they be right? You know what I'm saying?
That's hard for a lot of people to do.
But that is...
You gotta put yourself in their shoes. Like, if that were to happen, like, I mean, it's hard for a lot of folks to do that, but like, if you're like, that's another good thing about therapy. You learn how to listen.
Just listening. That's all you got to do, and you can have any woman you want. You ever see an ugly ass dude with a fine ass woman? You be like, how the fuck that happened? He's listening. He's at home every day like this.
Like, I've been able to like finally like kind of get out of that defense mode and like already have a rebuttal for whenever we're having arguments, and I'm literally like just kind of clearing all that out, listening to what they're saying, processing it, and if I disagree with something, I'll let them know. But the first thing I want to let them know is that I agree with them on this, and this, so that they are feeling better about like what they've just said.
It's us against the problem, not us be the problem.
Yeah. And that's so. Not enough times does that happen, or do people like get out their ego, get out the anger, and sit back and be like, hold up, guys, hold up, you my girl, you my dude. We don't want to be fighting. What's the real issue? And that's another hard thing.
I had this conversation not just recently where I had to tell the person like, bro, I'm on your team, bro. But listen, when I'm on your team and you drop the ball and fuck up on a play, and I tell you that you fucked up, that's not saying that the game is over. That's not saying I want you to be on a different team.
Or that you fucked up, or that you suck.
All right, I'm not saying you suck because that's why you on a starting five. That's why
that's why you throw the ball.
You know what I'm saying? Dog, I'm just saying like you fucked up on this. We have to address this so we don't do it again.
Exactly, gotta be addressed.
We really gotta like hit it hard, but we can't blow it past.
Right.
Especially because if it is hard and I feel a way about it, I'm gonna feel it about it again hard.
Again and again, it's gonna get worse and it's gonna worse. And then when resentment is seeded, once the seed of resentment happens, nothing but water.
But
things that's not meant to be water gonna be water.
I feel like I'm trying to be vulnerable with you and comfortable with you to come to you about the problem I have with you.
Exactly. Instead of just holding it in and doing some other shit, or just letting it build up, or what have you. And without all of this, there's no way you could be in a non-monogamous relationship, because you're adding another entity. Because oftentimes I'm like, a relationship's already two entities having to deal with all their insecurities, all their vulnerabilities, all their issues, all their problems, and you guys have to be straight. And the thing is, some people I think that it's impossible to be that straight to be able to have another entity. It might be impossible for you, but it's not impossible for every one of us 7 billion people in this world. It's not one size fits all. Nothing is.
Right. Especially if you're diving into polyamory, you're like, so how can you love more than one person at the same time? Like, well, if you're a parent, do you love more one child over the other? Do you love one sibling over the other? Like, how does that work? Like, who do you go to for certain things versus another person? Like, it's kind of like when, like, even when I have like my own friends, like I have certain friends for certain things, and like they all, like, it takes a community to. Why try to make a community out of one person when you have other folks that are like already vibing with you? So that's how I approach it. And I mean, again, we can talk about this more, but like I overall, I really feel as though because of me diving into non-monogamy and ethical non-monogamy, however you want to say it, I do feel like I'm just a more whole person. I even think when it comes to some of the issues that I have been like advocating for, like my black rights as a black woman, about freedoms and liberations, like I've learned a lot of those principles through being non-monogamous.
My first brush of knowing what non-monogamy was looking at Ruby Davis and Ozzy and Ruby. Ozzy Davis and Ruby D, and it's like they wrote a whole book about how throughout their relationship they would choose when they would be non-monogamous and they'd choose when they'll come together on it, and it was like they felt like they were better friends because they didn't pretend like they weren't attracted to other people, and they just had certain rules on it. Because that's another thing too, it's not like everybody's willy-nilly. No, like you and your partner comes up with the dynamic and come up with the rules and the guidelines of how things gonna be. In their book, they were Ozzy and Ruby, and these old school. This ain't even like people think this shit new.
We agreed that we would, if we were attracted to somebody, we agreed the world is full of marvelously wonderful people, very attractive, especially in this business. And it's difficult sometimes to say no. Okay. And he agreed that we would try that for a while. And I confess when he, when he went away from me, and I was, even though I said yes to the arrangement, I wasn't happy about it until, of course, the moment came. Such a moment happened for me, you know.
If Ruby was like, man, I don't fuck with her, he couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things where it's like they would bring it to the table. Are you okay with this? This is a and that person had the right to sign off and be like, not that one.
I brought this one bitch.
Or maybe I was like, Ruby brought this one nigga over. I want fucking with that nigga.
She brought motherfucking Sydney party ticket. My motherfucking, I said, bitch, if you don't get this nigga out of my house. Sydney, if you don't get your upright ass out of my house right now.
Out of all the dicks you want to suck, you gonna fuck Sydney?
Motherfucking party. Well, bitch, you want to bring her to get in my house? I ain't lighting up for you. You let her get that motherfucking crack on me, nigga.
The one thing that I learned from it, and love, you know, love is hard. It is very hard to love. Love is a process. Right. Love is not an accomplished fact, even when you marry. Right. Love is like, it's a day-by-day thing. But I did learn this one thing. One aspect of love is trust and freedom. In order to really have anything or have someone, and he taught me this too in a sense, you've got to let it go. And in the letting go, you come to terms with yourself too, and your own worth. And it's a risky proposition.
Right.
But I think it makes the marriage stronger. Well, and when the temptations are not dire, he had told me if I ever left him, he was going to come with me.
I meant that.
But one thing I did want to just icing on the cake shit. I want you to be aware of the ownership aspects of and entitlement aspects of how we're taught to love, because I think a lot of people's issues with non-monogamy goes into the ownership aspects of how we think, the possessiveness.
That's where people get defensive though. They get defensive like, I'm not owning anybody. I just don't want to with anyone. I'm like, that's the same thing.
That's the same.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's cool. People would be real honest with themselves, no judgment. Because the thing is this: if this is you, that is fine. But just know that it's a fact, and that's one of your reasons why you can't do it. But you know what I mean? I just own it, right. Own that,
examine it.
You know what I mean? Introspection.
There's only one code, one thing, one rule, man, that shit don't change. And it's certain real niggas do real fucking things. Real niggas do real fucking things.
Alright,